Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready? The champ is here! It's just a man! Give me a hell yeah! What the rock is cooking? To be the man, you have to be the man! Big Papa Pump! If you're hooked up! Holla! At the end of woo, woo, woo! Cup of coffee in the
Coming to you from the Blog Talk Radio studio right here in the heart of Hudson County. Folks, you know it's always in Union City and in Weehawken collectively. This is Working the Marks here on Blog Talk Radio, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, the Professor Fernando Uribe, and he is New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the PBR superstar, the glorious Patrick Rivera. What's up, PBR?
You know, if Union City's the heart, then I think Weehawken should be the lungs. You know, I think if we're, I don't know, Union City's going to look like if Pablo Picasso drew a person. That's how it's going to look, or maybe Dali. I don't know. It's going to be a little messed up, but I'd like to think that Weehawken are the lungs of Hudson County. And it's great to be back here and working the marks with you, Fernando.
Absolutely.
Would you say
brother.
we're the lungs or not?
I would say yes, especially since you're closer to the skyline and fresh air. Absolutely. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, I think for sure. Folks, Happy New Year. Happy 2023 year. It's great to be with you again here as we start year 2 of Working the Marks here on Blog Talk Radio and also via Famcast Media as well. And make sure you write to us whenever you can, whatever you like about the show, what you don't like, what annoys you about me, what annoys you about Patrick, or whatever, what you love about Patrick or what you love about me. Write to us, workingthemarks@gmail.com. Certainly make sure you follow us on Instagram at working_the_marks, as well as on Twitter. Also, make sure you follow it at working_marks. And, of course, check out our own, social media as well. If you want to drop us a line and say what's up, Happy New Year to us. Of course, on Instagram, you can check out the PBR Superstar at Patty Reekin, Paddy.
Don't send me messages. Don't send me messages. Don't send me messages.
Do that.
Send it
do
to the
that,
show. I'm a jerk. Don't send me messages.
Folks, wish them a Happy New Year. Wish them a happy, say God bless them on the DMs. And, of course, check him out on his Twitter, folks, at PatrickSKVM. And you can check out my Instagram and Twitter. It's the same handle, at the Fernando Zone. And, of course, make sure you also check out Working the Marks on Facebook, monitored by our great guy, D. Rotten. And, of course, this week's edition of Working the Marks is brought to you by Famcast Media. You can make sure you follow them on Instagram as well, at Famcast Media. And, of course, check us out wherever you get all of your podcasts. And, of course, always tune in. Folks, sharing is caring via blogtalkradio.com/workingthemarks. Pat, Happy New Year, bro. How are your holidays? What's going on? What's to do in 2023?
Well, I had a pretty good holiday. The kids got everything they needed, got everything they wanted. That was great. I got a lump of coal, but I'm used to that. I'm a Grinch. And the new year was fantastic as well. I'm really excited about 2023. I'm excited to be back here on year 2 of Working the Marks. And I'm really, really excited about our special guest today, because I know we got a special guest today. I heard something. I read it, somewhere through the grapevine, heard it through the grapevine, whatever the fucking thing is. But point is, I know we got a special guest on here. And I think it would behoove you to introduce this special guest that we got on the show
Absolutely,
today.
folks.
What do you say?
We bring you some exclusives that other podcasts don't. And it's our pleasure this week to bring you the comic book warrior. Of course, check him out at ProWrestlingTees.com. Please check out the shirt. Hey, you know what? It goes a long way, and all merchandise is owned by the comic book warrior, Gabe Baez. He joins us this week here on Working the Marks. What's up, warrior?
Hey, guys, what's going on?
I give him a pop. And I don't really pop for much, but I give you a pop.
Absolutely.
That means a lot, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Gabe, Happy New Year to you, bro. Again, folks, check him out on Pro Wrestling Tees. Obviously, the comic book warrior, Gabe Baez there. Only $25. made in Chicago of imported fabric or material. Let me tell you something, folks. A great merch to get during the again, if you're looking to buy somebody something after the holidays, or you got a bar mitzvah coming up or a birthday, you know what? Show some support for a guy coming up right now in the indie scene, and a guy you better keep your eye on in 2023 here, Gabe Baez. Gabe, bro, I got to tell you, man, I've been looking at some stuff online about you, bro. It's really, really impressive. What was your epiphany to kind of get into professional wrestling? Like, was there someone who influenced you? Did you watch certain programming, certain territories? What was the epiphany, brother?
So for me, the one that drew me into pro wrestling is my grandfather. And growing up, I'll admit it, I was the chubby, picked-on kid. And one day I came home, and I think that day my wallet was stolen, not going to lie. And my grandfather was like, Gabe, come watch Monday Night Raw with me. And I remember the match clearly. It was CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And I instantly fell in love with pro wrestling. And as time went on, I was deciding what career I wanted to do. And surprisingly enough, it was two choices, comic book artist or professional wrestler. And I found out the hard way I sucked with drawing. So I went and trained to become a professional wrestler.
Gabe,
when you decided to get into wrestling, I'm sorry, Fern. I just want to ask one. But Gabe, when you decided to get into wrestling, did you finally attend an indie show, or was it a WWE show? What was it that basically kind of helped you get on your path to training and to becoming a wrestler eventually?
So, believe it or not, when I first decided I wanted to do pro wrestling, I didn't have that much knowledge of where to go. And what I did was I trained myself at school, and I would take clips from wrestling schools and do the drills that they did during gym class. And people would see me doing these footwork drills, these conditioning drills, and they all thought I was nuts. And then I went to an indie school in Nutley, New Jersey called IWF. And then when they closed down, I went to Team Adams Professional Wrestling Academy, which is run by the great Damian Adams, who was trained by Rip Rogers, who was also the same man that trained John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, basically all the top names in the business today.
Gabe, when you think about your journey, and obviously, you know, when we decide to do something for a career and we get that motivation or we get an inspiration somewhere, obviously, you know, you mentioned to us about the CM Punk Seth Rollins match. I'm assuming that was probably like late 2013, maybe 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean that was an interesting time in pro wrestling. Certainly, we were seeing, you know, obviously the rise of Daniel Bryan. We were seeing the rise of different characters. When you got that epiphany to go into professional wrestling, was it more about, you know what, I have a certain gimmick in my head, or is it just, let me break into the business and then as time goes on, I'll develop something, or, you know, like anything else? I mean, was there a plan already in your mind about what you wanted your character and or gimmick to look like?
In all honesty, I think the character kind of found me because I was, right off the bat, I was already a guy that was in love with superheroes, and in a way, I kind of merged the comic book world and the wrestling world together. That's kind of like my weird way of seeing things. And when I was wrestling over time, I was trying to figure out how I could kind of show this superhero type thing. And I was doing a show in Whitehall, New York, and this guy goes, "Comic Book Warrior," and it was one of my boys, and he goes, "Comic Book Warrior, come on, we're up." And I go, "What did you just call me?" And he goes, "Comic Book Warrior." And it dinged in my head. I should just call myself the Comic Book Warrior, do things that guys my height and my size normally do not do, which is shoulder press guys, toss them across the ring like a sack of potatoes, and just basically do something that would leave the crowd in shock and awe.
Okay, I mean, just to be clear for our audience, maybe that's not familiar with you, and obviously they're going to get familiar with you much more so now. What are your specs though? Height, weight, build, etc.
I'm 5'7". I currently weigh 220 pounds, and for all the ladies listening, I am black-haired and bearded, and I have nice eyes.
Okay, there you go, folks. You know, that's if that's not a Tinder or Bumble profile, I don't know what to tell you. But you know, when you think about these specs, though, Gabe, I mean, certainly, I mean, I'm much older than you are, and I'm sure I'm going to hear a insert old joke here by Patrick any second now. But you know, wrestling's gone through phases and periods where it was big guys either jacked up on performance-enhancing drugs or tall guys or slender guys or whatever. You know, how do you perceive where you stand right now in the world of pro wrestling as you're trying to make it in the business? And obviously, you know, it's, you know, you're a muscular guy, you have definition, but maybe you're not as tall as, you know, what we've grown up seeing guys to be. And I know that sometimes, you know, gimmick heights and all that always becomes a discussion point. But was that ever something that maybe was like a make or break for you? Did you feel, oh man, you know, I don't think I fit the mold of what a pro wrestler should look like height-wise or weight-wise or build-wise? Did that ever bother you? Did it ever cross your mind?
There were some moments in my career where people would tell me, like, you're way too, like, buff, or your height, you should be like this, because everybody thinks that a guy who's 5'7" should be like a CrossFit, cruiserweight, springboard, and in my head, I said, no, I can't. I'm not going to springboard. I'm not going to do all that. I'm a guy that keeps his feet on the ground. I'm more old school. I mat wrestle, and I'm also more of a powerhouse. That's why when I started wrestling and I started to see my size, I was like, I'm not okay with how I am. So I started working out a lot more. I started eating a lot more. Like currently right now, I eat like 4,000 calories a day, and it's insane amount of cardio and conditioning and also strength building. Like I posted on my Instagram, I deadlift like 475, and people are in shock and awe at the gym. And sometimes the manager looks by and asks me if I'm on steroids, and I said no.
I mean, Fern, you know, that's a shoot right there. That's a shoot right there. What he's talking about, what he deadlifts. All right, I've seen it with my own eyes. That's a shoot. Okay, so there's nothing quote unquote fake, you know, because I hate using that word. I hate using the F word when people talk about wrestling, when people talk about the great sport of professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. It's professional
wrestling.
Whatever you want to call it. Listen, you know what it is, okay? At the end of the day, you look at guys that people are talking about that are the future, the business. And you look at a dude like MJF. MJF ain't much taller than Gabe. MJF ain't a big guy, but MJF got a big character. And with a big character, you could go a long, long way in this business. Gabe, speaking of characters, have you had a chance to meet Rip Rogers at all, or talk to him, or be under his learning tree by any chance?
When I first started at Team Adams, there was a seminar, and I attended. And I got to tell you, Rip was way more brutal than Damien. He would make us count our squats. We did originally at the time it was 500 squats, and it was a 2-day seminar. I was only able to do one day because I had affairs to take care of the next day. But on the first day, it was very brutal. He was very verbal with everything. He on how to work, what to do here, and also like our character, like the way we work. He wants us to like say like, you want yourself to be known, work for it, and that's the PG way of saying what Rip said. I'm not even going to go to the next level of what he said.
Right. Okay, folks again, check out the Comic Book Warrior Gabe Baez at his Instagram at Gabe_M_Baez BAEZ. Certainly great content on there. And also, Gabe, I want to give you a shout out here as well. I know you're going to be in nearby Bergen County coming up next Saturday for, again, you'll be facing, obviously you'll be part of a card, but at 106 Bergen Avenue in Ridgefield Park. I believe bell time is at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5. Tell us a little bit more about this promotion you're going to be participating in next Saturday in nearby Bergen County.
So this promotion is called Spartan Championship Wrestling, SCW. I was there when it first started, and I got to tell you, there's no greater place than that place, man, because that place will be in my heart home because I have a lot of buddies there that were there when I first started training. It's run by Kareem West, and he was there when I first started, and he was kind of the guy to help all young and up-and-coming wrestlers get their chance to shine. And that's the place that a lot of people don't think about, but when you see the wrestlers that are there, they got something. They got something that most people miss.
Folks, again, check it out next Saturday at 106 Bergen Avenue in Richfield Park. Parking's available. Doors open at 5 p.m. But bell time is 6 p.m. You definitely want to be there next Saturday, January the 14th, to check out the Comic Book Warrior. Pat?
I know I'll be out there. Yeah. I'll be supporting Gabe. Gabe is an up-and-coming talent in the business. He's a dude that's big on character, that's big on wrestling ability, can do it all, can show it all, and will show it all in 2023. And I think he's somebody that if you don't have him in your radars yet, folks, you better get him there because you don't want to miss what he's going to be doing. And I know I'm going to be there watching it. And I'm really excited for the show. Tell us about your opponent that you're taking on, Gabe.
Oh, man. V. Daniels, man. I got to tell you, this kid, he's something else. He's a lot skinnier than me, I'll say that. But I've seen him work. He's got a lot of skill. He's definitely got me in the speed. But he doesn't have me in the strength.
Gotcha.
And my goal is to be the SCW World Heavyweight Champion. And V. Daniels is kind of the speed bump.
You know what? I like
speed bump. Wow.
I like the ambition on this kid, folks. I'm telling you, this is definitely a guy to watch in 2023 and for the foreseeable future. I like the attitude. I like the cockiness. A little smug, Gabe. I like that. You're sure of yourself and.
Steve, no. Professor, time out. See, that's where you got it wrong. It's not cockiness, it's confidence. It's confidence. He knows what he's capable of.
Oh, listen, confidence and cocky, I know they're distant cousins of each other, but I like it. He's confident.
Professor. With all due respect, cockiness is far from confidence. You see, I'm confident because I am the only one at SCW to go into a Rumble at number 1, stay till the end, and come out victorious. I was the first one to win the Kamek Cup. I was the first one in a town to be named their champion. But let's make that clear. I am the Weehawk and undisputed champion.
Folks, I got to tell you.
Can't say that about yourself, Uribe.
That's right.
Can't say that about yourself, Uribe.
That's
Can't say that about yourself.
That is correct.
So have some respect. Have some respect. That's all I'm saying. Just have some respect because I feel like you're selling him short a little bit. All right.
I'm gonna put a lot of respect on this young man's name right here, folks. Gabe Baez, the Comic Book Warrior. He's confident. He's cool. He knows his stuff. And I'll say it right now, folks. Again, I can't say it enough. This is a guy you want to watch out for in 2023 and for the foreseeable future. A guy that I'm impressed with already. It's only been a few minutes here on the show. Gabe, let me ask you this again, because the great thing about this show, Patrick is a former worker. He understands the business. I'm just a mark. I'd like to think of myself as an above average intelligent wrestling fan. That's debatable sometimes. But, one of the big things about pro wrestling, though, that I think gets a lot of scrutiny, Gabe, and I'm really curious about your take here. Again, as a guy working the independent scene, making his way through the business, a guy who understands his character, understands the role he plays in the sense of his presentation. Do you think wrestling's gotten too I'm sorry, not wrestling. Do you think the audience, both online and maybe who you see in person that attends shows, is it getting way too marky? Is it getting to the point where fans are just kind of demonstrating that they think they know more than talent And how much does that bother you? I know it has to. I know it bothers Pat. How much does it bother you, bro?
To be honest, it really does bother me because fans online, they claim that they could do what we do 10 times better. Think about it, but they have no idea what goes into the work that we do. We train ourselves. We put our bodies on the line for your entertainment. Think about it. We have guys like, let's see, like Pat said, MJF, who worked his ass off, and he's currently the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. We have guys like Darby Allin, who literally does crazy stunts in the ring that would probably paralyze some of those fans talking online thinking that they could do 10 times better than any wrestler. And this is not a dig at fans. I love them all with all my respect, but they need to know what it takes to do what we do. They haven't done 1,000 squats consecutively. They haven't wrestled for over an hour. They haven't even tightened up their boots yet. If you want to run your mouth, I suggest you go to a wrestling school, try and do what we do, and truly think to yourself, can I do what it takes?
Well, that's a great attitude to have.
Can you, Fernando? Can you, Fernando? Can you?
Hey, listen, I've never once said anything to the contrary. I think as a mark, I never critique wrestlers' abilities. As a mark, I think Pat will completely expose this right now. I mean, my markish tendencies are about booking. I like what I like, and I think a lot of fans are guilty of that. I think that's the fandom. I think that's also the toxicity of the wrestling fandom, Gabe, that I think is more so than any other genre in pop culture, comic books, music, movies, television. I don't think there's a more toxic fan base than professional wrestling fans, and Mark specifically, because it's like, you know, what's good booking and what's a good optic doesn't necessarily mean it's profitable or good presentation, right? Is that a good way to say it for me?
I'm going to let Pat give his opinion on that.
You know what? How about this, okay? I'll give you this, all right? At the end of the day, what fans, what marks, whatever you want to call them, think they know about booking, and I'm using finger quotes right now, so imagine that. Imagine my finger quotes right now while you're hearing this, okay? What fans think they know about booking, they got from a shoot interview. They got from a DVD. They got from a book. They got from something else, from somebody else's account of what it actually is. And they didn't have to put in the hard yards. They didn't have to do the thousands of squats. They didn't have to wrestle 1 hour. They didn't have to go and climb stairs and take trains and do whatever they had to do to be able to do what they want to do, which is wrestle. They did it. So they don't understand what it takes. They don't understand what it takes. But you know what? I think honestly, I think it's enough. It's enough. Like, let's not talk about this right now. Let's not ruin this segment that we have with a guy who is the future of professional wrestling. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about Gabe Baez, because he's trending upward. He's trending upward.
That's right.
He's trending upward.
No, he certainly is.
And if you don't believe me, come on out next weekend and see it.
No, he certainly is. And folks, again, make it a point to come out next Saturday, January the 14th, in Bergen County, nearby Bergen County. I can't say it enough. Richfield Park, nearby, accessible through all major highways, easy, accessible via Lyft or Uber. I mean, folks, it's not hard to get to. And bell time is 6 p.m., doors open at 5. Great card from what I can tell there. You can check it out, obviously, on their Facebook page. Gabe, when you think about your journey from first, going into the school in Nutley to where you are now, I think like anyone else, we think about getting better at our craft. And that always requires self-awareness. I think it's important to have that in any profession. Where do you see yourself within the next 5 years, as you presently see yourself moving up in the business? Because I can tell you're a guy on the rise and someone definitely we have to keep an eye out for. Ideally, where would you like to be in 5 years?
I would like to be signed to one of the big companies, whether it's AEW, WWE, New Japan, Impact, you name it. That's where I want to be.
Impact.
I want to be.
Yes, he said Impact. All right, good stuff.
Of course he said Impact. He's a businessman. Duh, you idiot.
Well, I'm the only Impact fan in Hudson County, so of course. So I'm going to mark out for that, of course.
He said Impact. Jesus Christ! Like anybody cares about that company? What? All 5 of the fans of the company care?
Hey,
he's going to go where the money's at. Duh. I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm sorry. You're right. Sorry.
Hey, I just like to keep in mind, one of my friends is working there, Deanna Barrazo, so I wouldn't be talking smack on Deanna right now.
Hey, Jersey girl.
No, she would.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. Nah, she would stretch anybody. So I'm not looking for that kind of heat.
Gabe,
but
when you think
I will
about,
say this though.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this though. No matter where I go, whether it's WWE, AEW, New Japan, Impact, Ring of Honor, I'm gonna look back to what I did to get to that point. I'm gonna look at my grandfather who believed in me from the start. I'm gonna look at my late best friend Mike, who believed in me, whether it was continuing wrestling or following my education. And to everybody who has paved the way for me to make sure that my life is on the right path. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remember that.
Well, Gabe, you're certainly on the right path. You have a great attitude. Clearly, I mean, anyone listening today, folks, to today's episode, you can tell that Gabe has an incredible head on his shoulders, has immense self-awareness, and is a guy that, is very poised, confident but humble, I can tell during this interview, for sure. And folks, again, check him out there on Instagram. If you don't follow him right now, at Gabe_M period, the punctuation mark, _ Baez, BAEZ. Gabe, when you think about right now and how much you've progressed, I think like any athlete, because you're an athlete, and I know sometimes fans get fickle about that nonsense, but I mean, you're an athlete. You are exhibiting physical prowess in what you're doing here, so you're an athlete. When you think about how much you've progressed, I think like anybody else, sometimes we tend to compartmentalize what we're good at in some things more than others, maybe where we need improvement. Where are you right now? Where do you see yourself where you think you are really peaking right now in your skill set, and maybe there's something that you feel you need to work on and you look forward to keep working at it because, again, you're a professional. You want to keep working on your craft. How's that compartmentalized for you right now?
So right now, the only thing that I feel I need to work on is my technical aspect of my abilities. You see, I could go the distance with anybody, but when it comes to technical, that's something I am kind of outmatched in. Because right now we have guys that can out-wrestle anybody. We have amateur wrestlers like Raymond Jazikoff, who is an NYU graduate. Guys on that team get that level who could mat wrestle you for hours. You need to upgrade your technical aspect of that. So that's what I plan on doing. Strength and power is what I have. You could look at one of my matches. Hell, why don't you look up my match against Walter Diaz on YouTube? He had me in a triangle, and he weighs like close to 300 pounds. He lies about his weight, but 300 pounds. And by lie, I mean he thinks he's lighter. And I raised him up, slammed him down. That is not easy for a man to do with one arm.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Okay. Folks, again.
Gabe, actually, one more thing here real quick. Gabe, so I also understand that in your quest to become a better technical wrestler, you decided to take a trip up to Canada and actually ended up working with the Hart family. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I did a show in Elmira. This is where it all started. I did a show in Elmira, and the Hart family was there, and they gave me their information, and then they sent me up to Canada, where I was able to stay with them for a couple of days. And I got to tell you, the Hart family, they truly are something else. And someone else who is a close friend to the family, Mo Jabari, also known as Kid Chocolate, he has given me such great advice while I was there, and also to meet Bruce Hart while I was visiting Canada, I guess you could say, before I was actually wrestling. I was at an RCW show seeing what the wrestling is like in Canada, and Bruce Hart, he gave me such great words of wisdom on how to evolve, I should say, my character. And that is something that I have written down in my brain, so I'm doing my best to improve my character, improve my skill set, and I'm constantly conditioning myself. Like, literally, I forgot what day it was. I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, I was doing a 5-mile run on a treadmill, and to the point where my shoes started to rip. And I'll send Pat a picture later. There's literally a hole at the top of my shoe.
Wow. That's I mean, Gabe, you're dedicated, and I got to tell you, I think that's half the battle here, because you are honing in your craft. And folks, if you're interested in bookings for the comic book warrior Gabe Baez, shoot him an email, comic.book.warrior@gmail.com, and of course follow him on Instagram at Gabe_M_Baez. Gabe, I know we're about to wrap up here soon with, obviously you're on Work in the March. We appreciate your time, obviously. You've worked for a lot of promotions here, that just looking at your bio. I know you made your debut in 2017. A lot of different promotions here: ECWA, World of Hurt, ECWA, ECPW, the Hart Legacy Wrestling, as you mentioned, obviously working with the Hart family, Project Codename Wrestling, New Evolution Wrestling, Ace Pro Wrestling, and Spartan Championship Wrestling, where you are currently right now. What would you say? I mean, again, obviously, you made your debut in 2017 in Newport, Vermont. Just tell our audience real quick, what was that like? I mean, what were the nerves like that day? I mean, obviously, I know you went to train. You went and made your debut there. Just take us through that morning of going to make your debut there up in Vermont. It's a long drive. I've driven to Vermont. It's not exactly a hop, skip, and jump away here from New Jersey. But tell us about your emotions that day. What were you feeling? What were, did you call somebody? Did you get like a barrage of text messages? Just describe that day for us.
So on that day, I received a lot of messages wishing me good luck. And the nerves, they were starting to get to me because I saw the crowd. And it was my first match ever. There was maybe like 200 people in the crowd. But once I stepped through that curtain, all those nerves, they began to settle. It's not something that happens to me a lot. Usually my nerves are a little jumpy, whether it's when I was young playing baseball, whether it was having fun with my friends, or hell, just playing a video game. But when that bell began to ring, I have never been so calm in my entire life. And that's the part that scared some people backstage. They go, "Weren't you nervous?" And I go, "No, I was actually pretty calm." And my opponent, he could even tell you, I kept a smooth heartbeat throughout the entire match.
That's what professionals do, Uribe. You understand? That's what professionals do. So now you know. Write that down in your book. Social scientist. Take your notes, okay? And remember that that's what an athlete does. Could you do that, please? Gabe, I got to tell you, I'm really glad you came on the show. But I'm so embarrassed with the way Fernando's handled this whole segment, and I apologize. And I'm really sorry. And you know what? I owe you a steak dinner, my friend. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry about this.
Steak dinner. Oh, yay.
And that's coming from a vegan, so you know that that it's business, all right?
Well, I'm glad that at least, Pat's buying somebody a steak, for God's sake, he'd buy himself a steak, but it wouldn't do him too much harm. But Gabe, you're a gentleman for coming on today. I hope you've enjoyed, speaking with us here on the air, and I certainly would like to have you back on if you're interested in coming back on Work in the March. I have found our conversation extremely illuminating, and I mean that all sincerity. I give a lot of credit.
He probably won't. You botched this. You should be on Botch Club for this whole fucking interview. Honestly. It's disrespectful.
Pat.
No respect. I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. Take the high road. Turn the other cheek. Gotcha. Sorry.
I'd be more than happy to come back on anytime you guys wish to have me. To talk about wrestling, my life. You guys have my contact info, but I will leave it to your audience if they want me back or not. That's something that I should let them decide.
Oh, they definitely will. I got no doubt whatsoever. Gabe, I'm totally impressed with you, man. I applaud you. I give you an immense amount of credit here about what you're doing. And folks, I can't say it enough.
Finally.
The guy, what are you talking about? I've been putting him over for the last 20. Wait a minute. I mean, hold on a second here. What version of Earth are we on here? Have I not been complimentary of this exceptional young man?
Let's just see this out. Let's just see this out. It's going to be embarrassing. I don't want to face the backlash online because of this segment, because of your stupidity. But I'm not going to look. Let's just finish this, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I mean, I appreciate the Shannon Sharp Skip Bayless interaction here today. Clearly, I guess that's what we're at today. With the show. But Gabe, I do appreciate your time, and I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, folks, next Saturday, January the 14th at Spartan Championship Wrestling, we'll be having a show at 106 Bergen Avenue in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Once again, easily accessible through all major roads, Turnpike, Parkway, Route 80, plenty of parking, doors open at 5, bell time at 6. Go on Facebook, check out the card. It is an incredibly solid card of up-and-coming talent led by our guest today, the comic book warrior, Gabe Baez, who's just going to be outshining everybody as far as I'm concerned next Saturday night in Ridgefield Park. Gabe, I again, just want to thank you for your time, and I wish you the best of luck, man. Stay healthy, stay grounded like you are. I see a huge future for you in this business, bro. I'll give you the last word here, man.
Thank you. And to everybody listening, it's been an honor speaking for you guys to hear me, and I can't wait for you guys to see me next week, taking on some speed bumps by the name of V. Daniels. And if you guys want to show support, you guys can get my shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, or if you come to the show, you could buy them straight from me. And at the shows, you could also get a signed picture of me and a signed poster, and believe it or not, a signed comic book.
Pat?
You hear that? He's giving out books. I don't see any other wrestler giving out books. People need to read nowadays. And you should have read before you even came on this thing, Uribe, but I'm not going to get into that anymore.
What are you talking about? I do research. I do research for our guests. What are you talking about?
All right. Yeah. No, you did your research. Anyways, look. Come on out, see Gabe Baez next weekend. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have my gimmicks on. You better come and get your gimmicks, and you better come on down and see the wrestling. And that's all I got to say about that. All right? So thank you, Gabe. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm so sorry. I'll PayPal you for coming on. This is disappointing. The whole thing fell apart. I'm sorry. And anyways, let's get on to the next segment. Thank you, Gabe. You're a great guy. Folks, check him out on Instagram.
Thank you for having me.
Gabe, listen, it's our pleasure. Stay healthy, bro. God bless you. Best of luck to you with Spartan Championship Wrestling and every other promotion that I know you're going to excel in the near future. Folks, he's Gabe Baez, the comic book warrior, joining us here this week on Working the Marks via Famcast Media and also on Blog Talk Radio. Gabe, take care of yourself, brother. Happy New Year, and we'll see you again soon
you
here
too.
on
Happy
Working
New
the
Year.
Marks. Take care, brother.
Yeah. See ya. Take care. See you next week.
Bye-bye, brother. Yeah, brother. Take care.
Yeah, man, good segment there. I love Gabe, you know.
Good segment there. Good segment there. You love Gabe. Now you love Gabe. Jesus. Oh, my God.
I love Gabe.
That was so embarrassing. That was worse than when I pissed my pants in grammar school. I mean, that was just awful. Well, I mean, all of it, you're dogging the guy out the entire time, and then finally you put him over because I have to point out that he's an athlete to you because, you're treating him like a J-bro. I mean, dude, we'll be lucky if we get him back on, honestly. We'll be lucky if we get him back on.
I think he'll be back on. I think he'll be back on. I'm pretty confident.
Be back on. You think he'll be back on? All right. Well, we'll be lucky. We'll be lucky if we get another person to come on the show, another host, another guest, whatever. Jesus, I'm flustered. Anyways, can we just do the rest of the show? Let's just do the rest of the show. All right.
Okay. Well, all right, folks. Again, let's get to the news here. Pat, interesting. Via Wrestle Talk today, apparently Dave Adamson from Wrestle Talk is reporting. I get a couple of outlets to the same. I'm not sure if you saw it on Twitter as well. Apparently, CM Punk is in some position to return to AEW. What version of Earth are we living on that this is possible?
Well, we're living in the version of Earth where, money's green and people still want to make it. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is a fucking no-brainer. Come on. He can get money from anywhere. It doesn't matter. If he wants to stay in AEW, stay in AEW, get money. If you want to go to WWE, go to WWE, make money. He's going to make money wherever he goes. More importantly, he's a smart guy. He's too smart sometimes, maybe for his own good. Who knows? But he knows where the trail is to get the paper, to get the cheese. And CM Punk is going to get paid wherever the fuck he decides to go. So I hope the WWE thing is true. I hope so, because I would love to see him back. I think it would just be amazing, and I would love to see him in the main event of WrestleMania 40 against Roman Reigns, or maybe even Cody Rhodes. Who knows? Who knows who the WWE champion would be then? But to see CM Punk come back to WWE to get his main event, man, that'd be something pretty cool.
I'm with you on that. Again, some details here for our audience. Dave Adamson reporting. Some backstage may not want CM Punk to return to AEW. That doesn't mean that his return wouldn't be best for business. Previous reports have stated that some have claimed CM Punk being a cancer. Obviously, we all know where that came from via Chris Jericho in the locker room. But Dax Harwood's podcast, and there was a suggestion on the recent podcast that CM Punk and the Elite should work out their differences, that leading to some in AEW being unhappy with the suggestion. But it seems pretty clear that a Punk return wouldn't be the most welcome of options, according to some backstage. However, there's some reason to believe that Tony Khan wants to bring back CM Punk because that would be money. If you're paying a guy $5 million to sit at home, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not trying to take Uncle Dave's reporting seriously, but it would seem that according to what was said on the Dax Harwood podcast between Dax Harwood and CM Punk, obviously Phil Brooks wants to come back and do business. Quote, Punk posted on Instagram a photo of him with FTR, as well as pushing his number 2 in merch sales and a list of the most watched YouTube videos from AEW in 2022, which of many included him in them. The popularity of CM Punk, obviously, among the wrestling audience can be understood with the impact for a guy that really hasn't been on TV since September of 2022. There was some belief, though, Pat, that Tony Khan and CM Punk were working on a contract buyout with a no-compete clause probably being the sticking point that was delaying the negotiation. Apparently, Uncle Dave is now suggesting that an alternative path for negotiations could be materializing. I got to tell you, man, it could be. I always thought this would be a work. I just think that there's way too much immaturity in that locker room, and there's a lack of leadership by Tony Khan, because this would never happen under any sound corporate structure. If there's money to be made, a good, strong CEO would get adults together, because remember, he's the CEO and they're the employees. You don't let the inmates run the asylum. It would seem that Tony Khan would be better served, especially, and we'll get to the ratings in a little bit, because the ratings have been bad for Dynamite lately. Do business, folks. Be adults. Do business. I do business with a lot of people I don't like in different fields, academia, journalism, but you do business because you want ratings, you want traffic. I'm sorry. Tony Khan's got to put on his pants, bro. He got to pull up the pants and be the man here. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, even if he does, no, dude, it's too late, I think. I think that type of mentality, that type of structure should have been established a long time ago. And if it wasn't there from the foundation of the company, or from the founding of the company, it shouldn't have. It's not just going to grow overnight. It's not going to grow overnight. So I think it would be in Punk's best interest to go back to WWE. If WWE is going to be super professional and it's going to be something, where he can go and he can make the most money for what he's trying to do, then that would probably be the best choice, for him. So I think I'd like to see him back there. But I mean, dude, you got to look at it like this. This scoop is coming from Dave Meltzer. Is he reliable? No. Is he in with them? Yeah. But it doesn't really. I don't know, man. I need to see more to this. I need to see more to this.
Pat, I read Dave Adamson quite a bit on WrestleTalk. I'm not saying what he writes is scripture, but I've come, at least from what I'm reading for some months now, about Dave Adamson, I think kind of reliable, a hell of a lot more reliable than other pro wrestling journalists, if you can call them that. So again, take it with a grain of salt. It seems like maybe there is a possibility of CM Punk returning. Again, it remains to be seen about, where he goes in the coming weeks, if months. Again, we're assuming that he's trying to heal from what was supposedly a pectoral issue after All Out during this match. I don't know. Interesting, though, to see, where he would end up because, back in WWE, it seems like a much better structure. I think we've seen the reports that have leaked out about what the backstage culture is in AEW, where supposedly he'd get a part-time schedule for it. He'd be okay. He wouldn't be having to bust his ass like he does with AEW. He wouldn't have to carry the load and be the guy. He doesn't even want to be the guy. That's even come out too after the fact. So I mean, this to me, I don't know. I don't see a lot of smoke to it. Why would he want to go back to that shit? It's not like these dudes are going to change. It's not like anything's changed with them. And then what? Chris Jericho? Come on, man. No, that's
not going to work.
Listen, I think it's a toxic work environment. I think, obviously, what we've learned or what's leaked out that, after Dynamites and Rampages, the talent, both the guys and girls, go back to the hotel. They're at the bar. They're drinking or whatever. And again, listen, I don't want to sound sanctimonious and hypocritical here. I love to go out and drink and party. That's kind of what I've been notorious for. But it seems like in that company, you want a little more structure. We're not getting that. And I think that it's, again, Punk spoke out against it. Punk doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't engage in recreational drugs of any kind. And when he's trying to maybe help promote a better culture, and he was pretty much laughed at by grown adults, where they were just like, no, whatever, he doesn't know what he's doing, or who the hell is this guy? I just think it's overgrown adolescents that can't hold their liquor and still want to party like it's 1999. I don't know. I think it's a bad culture that he wanted to try to improve. Clearly, he was laughed off by veterans in the locker room, and I think that little by little we're seeing sort of him being kind of a cast-off. I think it remains to be seen. $5 million talks, dude. If Tony Khan's like, you know what, if I want to pay this guy $5 million, I want him to wrestle. I want him to sit at home, doing podcasts, burying us or saying things that eventually he's going to say. And who knows, even if an NDA is going to be signed, if there is a buyout. So there's a lot of moving parts here, Pat, about where this could go.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to see where it goes in the future, but I think if Carlos Miguel Punk wants to finish his career on a high note, go to the WWE, make your money, main event WrestleMania, sell your T-shirts, win your matches, do your thing. It's all good. You know what I mean? So I think he's ultimately going to do whatever suits him, whether it's staying in AEW or not. But he's got time there. He could do it, or he could just walk, and ask for whatever the fuck it is. I mean, look, dude, he's a weird one because, like, we know that he's willing to sit things out. We know that he doesn't, like, he's not one of these guys that's, like, going to beg to come back. Like, no, he doesn't care. Once he's set on something, he'll do it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does, but I ultimately hope he comes back to WWE because I think they would do him right there, and he would get a good run there.
I'm with you. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens as we start 2023. Other big news to start 2023, Sasha Banks, a former WWE star, is now the CEO. Mercedes Moné made her New Japan Pro Wrestling debut during Wrestle Kingdom this week to confront IWGP Women's Champion Kairi following her win over Tam Nakano during Wrestle Kingdom 17. Subsequently, Moné laid out Kairi and wanted to challenge her for the title, which subsequently, I believe, is going to be defended in San Jose in February when New Japan comes to the States. So, good for Mercedes. Interesting. She's been obviously the talk of a lot of pro wrestling, dirt sheets, podcasts, shows, this one included, about where she would end up. I know that she left under pretty tense circumstances last spring, where she felt that both her and her partner, Trinity Fatu, a.k.a. Naomi, were not being utilized very well by then WWE CEO Vince McMahon. When it came to creative decisions and booking, clearly she and Naomi did not want to come back to work. They were ostracized on TV during an episode of Monday Night Raw. She's been off TV since then. There's been a lot of whispers, though, Pat, about where Mercedes would end up. She certainly did not disappoint. Came into New Japan this past week on Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know, man. A lot of whispers about where she's going to go next. She's clearly going to be at the New Japan show in February in San Jose, California. I think it would be a mistake to go to AEW. I think that's not a great division for her. I think that, you go in there and it seems like a little clutter there, with Saraya there, obviously Britt Baker. Not a lot of great talent there. Nothing against the girls per se, but it's nowhere near what the Raw women's roster is, the SmackDown women, or even the NXT women's roster. So good for Mercedes. She's betting on herself. She's going out there making money. Took some time to heal up. Great. Remains to be seen, though, what's going to happen with Mercedes for the rest of 2023, Pat.
Well, I think that, she's in an interesting part of her career. I think that she's kind of like where Cody Rhodes was when he left WWE. And I don't think that AEW is a good fit for her. I think that her building up the New Japan Women's Division would be good because they're obviously committed to that. They have a champion now. And I think that'd be a great place for her to, really showcase her talents and really help those girls grow. But, I mean, for her to go to AEW, what's she going to do? Yeah, like she's going to wrestle Britt Baker, okay, whatever, who cares? She's going to wrestle Saraya, whatever. But, like, it's I don't know, man. It's not particularly compelling, but I think she'd be good to help their women's division grow from a wrestling perspective. Like, to have her be like a leader of the locker room, that'd be cool, But I don't know. There's a lot of things to consider. Naomi could do whatever she wants. She could go a million different directions. It's my understanding, for Billy Bodies, like she's trying to come back, but things have to be talked out, and that's it. But yeah, I think Sasha would probably do better to help grow that women's division in Japan and really be influential there. And I think that would be really great for her legacy.
We look at Mercedes, man, and we look at, obviously, there's, as you just said it perfectly, there's a lot of avenues that Mercedes can pursue, and she's clearly in a very unique time in her career. I don't exactly know her age, but she's on the younger side of I think she's on the younger side of 30, or probably in early 30s, so she's still in a good place for her. I just think it's interesting, though, where you look at her, and the first thing you think about is, well, did she? I mean, I think it's safe to say she had communication with Paul and Stephanie and Nick Khan. I'm sure they talked dollars. I'm sure they, this is what Paul and Stephanie think she's worth. Perhaps maybe she didn't agree with that number. Maybe she wanted to venture off on her own. Maybe she wanted to go to New Japan, which again, it's an honor to go wrestle there. It's a measure of respect, and you get so much, as they say, you earn so much street cred in the business going to New Japan too. Like you mentioned too, maybe it's a Cody Rhodes situation. I just think that I look back at 2016 and I think about Cody Rhodes. I think about him, being Stardust, being in the the Intercontinental title ladder match at WrestleMania that year in Dallas. And then eventually I think his contract elapsed. I think he chose not to go back. And he just ventured off into Japan. I think he went to Impact for a little bit. I think there was a moment during that time, but I think Cody was kind of floundering, man. He was kind of floundering. I wasn't a fan of that Stardust gimmick. I get it was over. It wasn't for me, but it was, okay. But I think he was floundering a little bit. I don't think Mercedes was floundering this spring with Naomi being the women's tag team champions. I get the correlation you're making, but I think it's a little bit different because Cody was floundering, dude, in 2016. People forget that. But yeah, it was the best thing he ever did was to leave WWE and venture off. It really worked for him. He bettered himself, and it worked. I think Mercedes is doing the same thing, but I just think maybe it's a different circumstance, or maybe I'm just being too analytical. I don't know.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, look, it's kind of a similar thing, but I think that for her, what she's doing is different because she's, Cody went, wrestled Impact, wrestled ROH, and competed in New Japan, but all of those men's divisions have been established. Mercedes is going and is competing in a women's division that really hasn't been established. And I think that she's kind of helping put her imprint, helping add to something, and helping to create a culture. And I think that that's something that's a lot more long-lasting in the business than, let's say, a run in the company. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that really made sense to the listeners or to you, but Mercedes is helping create a culture within that women's division because it's the first time they're having this women's division. They have Kairi Sane, they have girls from Stardom, but Sasha Banks is a big name, and she's a woman who understands how to work to get audiences to give a fuck about you. A lot of these girls, they know how to work. Somewhat give a fuck about you, but it's more about really working. And if you could take the work and maybe shave off a little less and make them care about you more, now we're cooking. So I think that Sasha Banks has an opportunity to create a really great legacy in her name and really help shape a lot of what the business could become in New Japan in the future.
Absolutely. Pat, another woman in the headlines this week as we approach Hard to Kill next Friday in Atlanta. Impact Wrestling presents their Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Mickie James, it's been speculated, obviously, in this run that she's had in recent months. It's almost like creatively what was going on with Ric Flair in 2007 going to 2008. It's been called the last rodeo. Certainly the next time she loses, she would retire effectively. It almost seems like everything's pointing to that next Friday in Atlanta. She's going to challenge Jordynne Grace for the Impact Women's Championship. It seems like they're really, really putting over Jordynne Grace in that promotion. And it seems like they're going to ride that wave with Jordynne Grace. This could be the end of the line for Mickie James, a woman who has been in the business for quite some time, an original in TNA, went into WWE, won championships, a great talent. I'm a little biased. She's a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, so of course, I'm going to be a little partial. But a woman who I think, her career is coming to an end next Friday in Atlanta when it's career versus title at Hard to Kill.
Well, Alexis Lurie, Mickie James, whatever you want to call her, she's always been a really good worker. She's really understood what needed to be done. I first saw her in MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling, and she was great there. and I would see her in Jersey All-Pro and a lot of other different places. But, you know, good for her. She's had a great career. Her run is Mickie James in WWE, working main event with Trish Stratus, great stuff. And, you know, she's somebody who deserves a good send-off. Maybe they'll give it to her in a garbage bag, who knows. But, you know, she's been a really good performer for a long time. I don't know why I sounded Canadian a couple of seconds ago. Maybe it's the Canadian beers I'm drinking. But she's had a fantastic career, and she's somebody who certainly deserves a nice send-off. So let's see what happens. But either way, she's a fantastic gal, and I hope she has a happy retirement.
Definitely. Other news. Let's stick with the girls here. Obviously, as 2022 came to a close, though, Pat, on the last SmackDown of the year, last year on December 30th, Charlotte Flair returned to television and immediately won the SmackDown Women's Championship. You know, hey, listen, you don't have to tell me how happy I was because I am such a mark for the Flair family. Woo! That just seeing her on TV was great. You know, we've debated this a lot on the show, Pat, last year, and I look forward to doing this more in year 2 of the show. I get it. She's a big name. She moves merch. I mean, I think we've talked about metrics when she's on TV. Obviously, it gets more eyes on the product. I just got to tell you, man, I remember vividly 5 years ago, right around this time, I was in Philadelphia at the Royal Rumble. First ever Women's Royal Rumble. I had the privilege of being there live. Unfortunately, in Philadelphia, which, you know, we all know we need a tetanus shot after leaving that shithole. But you know,
I threw up a little bit in my mouth when you said Philadelphia.
Oh, I don't blame you.
I'm sorry.
I gotta tell you, man.
I'm sorry.
When Ronda Rousey, you know, when Bad Reputation broke over the loudspeakers from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, you know, and she came out, hey, great. New eyes in the product, a global name, a global star. I got to tell you, man, 5 years later, listen, I know the first thing you're going to say to me, metrics and merch and this and that. Bro, 5 years later, it's just been flat. It's uninspiring about Ronda Rousey. I don't blame Paul for taking the belt off of her, putting it back on Charlotte. You know, if we're going to have Becky versus Charlotte at Mania, really compelling. Ronda in the main event again against Becky, I don't know, man. I'm trying not to be a mark here, but I'm sorry. 5 years later, very uninspiring, Pat.
I mean, look, dude, I personally think that you just do not like Ronda Rousey, and that's why you feel this way. But she's done everything that she's needed to do. She's sold merch. I feel like Ronda is one of these people for you that is kind of maybe for the younger audience, you know? And I'm not trying to say you're old, but, like, even for me and, like, my age group, like, we like Ronda because she's a badass MMA chick. But, like, that's it. You know, Ronda's more intended for, like, the younger kids, the younger audience, you know? For people to get into her.
But Pat, I mean, I'm with you about loving her because she's been a badass MMA fighter. But what's compelling about her? I get it, the merch, the metrics. You know, when she's on,
it's the same thing that's compelling. But it's the same thing that's compelling with Brock Lesnar. She's a female Brock Lesnar. That's what she is. It's the same thing, you know. How about this?
Brock can cut a much better promo, dude. And he's always been when he's been given a mic, he's been entertaining. Ronda isn't, dude. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm seeing something. Maybe I'm not seeing it.
How isn't she when she's main evented WrestleMania like Brock has? How? She's played a part in that.
No.
She's played a part in that. Becky certainly was the biggest part, the biggest component, but Ronda being involved was very huge. That legitimized it. That made a lot of crossover fans come and watch WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
I mean,
no.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about Ronda. I know you're not thrilled about her. I know that, but she does serve a purpose. And I don't think that there's a conspiracy or an agenda or like we got to take the title off her. Like, no, that's not it. That is absolutely not it with her. You know, she's another talent that they could use, somebody who could pull in a big fan base and who also, you know, is a crossover star. Like, I mean, you can't grow that on trees, Fern. You really can't, you know?
No, Pat, listen, you're right, but, like, I was there sitting in MetLife Stadium. I remember, yes, it's historic, having that women's main event, I get all that. But I was sitting there, and I remember what it sounded like. And I remember going to a couple of shows during that spring when WWE was doing Raws and the Tri-City leading up to WrestleMania. I just remember, like, okay, great. She's a name. Like, I'm not disagreeing with every metric that she represents. She's a global name. I'm not saying that. Again, I'm trying not to be as much of a mark about this, but it's been, I mean, your Brock Lesnar comparison is a good one. I'm with you. But when he's been allowed to cut a promo and just have the mic, Lesnar's been so much more compelling. I get it. He's had mouthpieces like Heyman.
How is he so much more? I mean, like you make him seem like he's fucking Roddy Piper. You know? Like,
no, you're right.
He's
you're
fucking
right,
Brock. He's Brock Lesnar. Well, what's he gonna talk about? Hey, I dug a hole when I was fucking growing up. You know, I killed a cow probably with my bare hands because I'm Brock Lesnar and probably. Fucking that's what I fucking did, you know, and then I fed the cow to my family. Like,
but Pat, you're right, and you're absolutely right. I just feel that it's just been, again, it's 5 years later. It has not been as inspiring, I think. And listen, it's been profitable. One thing is profitability, and one thing is metrics and visibility. I don't dispute this for a second. You'd have to be an idiot not to understand that these are important metrics. But 5 years later, in terms of what she's been to the optic of what she is as an on-screen talent hasn't always been inspiring. And I get it. She's served her purpose. She's done what she's been asked to do. I get all that. You're absolutely correct. But, and again, I love Ronda Rousey. I watch MMA. I'm not as dedicated as you are. You are extremely educated on MMA. You can recite names off in your sleep. I like Ronda Rousey. I've watched MMA because of Ronda. But the idea 5 years later, man, again, I remember being there in Philadelphia when she debuted. There was a huge sizzle. But 5 years later, that steak, I'll use a little bit of Cuban term. Ya la carne se puso cruda. Okay? That steak got a little stale.
Well, I don't know what meat you're eating, man, but the vast majority of the WWE fan base is eating a different type of meat. And there's people that really like to see her and really like to see what she's about. And I don't know. We'll see where it goes with her. I mean, this is, you know, here's another thing too. Like, you had the people that criticized the fact that Charlotte came back, right? You had the people that were like, Charlotte coming back, taking a title off of somebody, just winning the title again. That's horrible. That's lame, right? Like, I'm sure you saw some of that there's people that were complaining that Charlotte came back and won the title. Now she's in the main event again automatically and blah, blah, blah. There's a conspiracy because Ric Flair, you know, with the fucking candlestick and the fucking observatory, and Vince McMahon picked it up, and like, you know, this whole nonsense that the marks took up. Like, you know, you think about it, and it's like, what other way do you bring Charlotte Flair back? What other way do you bring her back? You bring her back on fucking main event? You bring her back on main event? You bring her back on an opening match of Raw with no intro? No, it's fucking Charlotte Flair, you fucking nincompoop. You gotta fucking bring her back in a big, big way. And they bought her in a big, big way, and they had her win the title, okay? And now when Sasha wins the New Japan title, are these people gonna treat that the same way?
No, that's fair. No, listen, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. It's going to be interesting to see, though, again, as the road to WrestleMania really is underway. The Rumble's in a few weeks from now on a Saturday coming up. We're going to see if it's going to be Becky versus Charlotte for the title. Does Charlotte get her win back from 2019? We'll see. I think there's a lot to unpack in the coming weeks, though, as we approach WrestleMania 39 in SoFi in Inglewood, California. Pat, some ratings here before we get to our main event topic this week. Raw with a good bounce back this week. Obviously, the start of the year, no surprise there. It's the new year. 1.6 for Raw, up 530,000 from what was really a low to close out 2022. The last Raw of the year was a million, 1.075. A sharp drop off from the week before Christmas, 1.75. You know, and it was interesting because then you would think like, okay, December 26th, kids are home from school break, Christmas break, families are home.
Yeah, but they did the rerun thing, didn't they?
Correct. It was like a year in review, which you would think, in years past, it's still done pretty decently. Not like the high Raws, like number-wise, but, you would still think, okay, it'll get some views, right? Year in review. Obviously, we saw Cody being, talking on.
Yeah, but Mark's tune in for the first Raw of the year. They always tune in.
Sure. No, absolutely. Again, it was a lower Raw due to the year in review, but again, they've done well before. The week before Christmas, 1.705. December 12th, 1.472. December 5th, 1.536. Right after Thanksgiving, 1.668. The week of Thanksgiving, 1.646. November 14th, 1.648. And then November 7th, 1.593. Good numbers, man, for what Raw is. Again, we're competing with highly competitive Monday night games with the NFL. The NBA's in full swing. The NHL's in full swing. A lot to watch on TV. I get it. It's not the old Monday Night Wars. I think people have to understand that there's a lot more stuff to watch on television now. There's streaming. You don't have to watch everything live. You can DVR stuff. I still think they're solid numbers. I know some people might say otherwise. These are still solid numbers for what it is right now in the landscape of what television is, Patrick.
Well, yeah. Look, I think that when people like WWE are real ratings, like that's real ratings. Like AEW, they're gonna draw their like Pee-wee crowd, and that's okay. That's acceptable, and that's what it is. But they're gonna continuously draw that. WWE are gonna draw real ratings. They're gonna be over 1 million. They're going to bring in a strong crowd, except developmental. Developmental, they've already established that nobody really gives a fuck about that for quite some time. Regardless of how good maybe the wrestling might be for a certain portion of the audience, doesn't really get over as big as the stuff on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. But, I'm not losing sleep over these numbers, dude. I'm really not. We already know how this is going to trend. We've been watching this shit enough. We know how it's going to go. You know what I mean?
No, listen, I'm with you. And I think that as the road to WrestleMania intensifies, the Royal Rumble, again, my favorite event of the year, is coming up just a few Saturdays from tomorrow, which, again, I love the PLEs on a Saturday. I don't know about you, man. It just, it gets people over. I love having watch parties. I know you come over for them. Other friends of mine. I just like them on Saturdays. It's fun. You always go out to do something afterwards. But, the road to WrestleMania intensifies, and I'm sure that as the Royal Rumble card takes shape, as we start seeing names, of course, numbers, they'll bump up for sure. Speaking of numbers bumping up, my goodness, SmackDown, always been doing well, man. Just going back to, let's say, right after Labor Day, always in the high twos. It peaked at one point in mid-September at 2.5. It had been 2.2, 2.24 for a while. During the World Series, I know that that weekend, obviously, it was shifted to FS1. It did AEW numbers, 835,000 on that Friday, which is funny. But then, obviously, once the World Series was over, it was back on Fox. 2.13, 2.264, 2.23. The day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday, 2.16. Early December, again, it was preempted. College football, again, kind of an AEW number, 902,000. But right after that, for the rest of December, 2.3, 2.15, 2.3. last Friday, the last SmackDown of the year, to no one's surprise, with the return of John Cena teaming up with Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn and WWE Undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns, a whopping 2.629, Patrick, to end the year.
That's a pretty big number, my friend. I mean, look, SmackDown, everything's about to pick up, you know? We know we're headed towards WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. The Rock's coming back. For all you people out there that are like, oh, The Rock's not coming back, then, you know, it's up in the air. They need to book it. They need to book the main event. Like, shut up. Never booked nothing. You couldn't even draw money with a fucking white piece of paper and a green crayon.
That's great. I would use that.
Like,
I like that.
You know, like, come on, man. You know, let these people cook. Let them do what they're doing. Whether it's Triple H, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Phil Laryngitis, fucking the Ghost of Christmas Past, Vince McMahon, and the Candlestick Maker. Let's let them do whatever they got to do.
Well, true.
I triggered you. I said Vince McMahon. I triggered you. Oh my God.
Well, no,
my God.
That is our main event.
On this January 6th, I triggered you. Oh my God.
Well, you know.
And happy January 6th to Chris Jericho, by the way.
Yes, happy Three Kings Day again for Catholics like myself and Chris Jericho. It's known as the Feast of the Epiphany. It's a Christian festivity that takes place on the 6th of January, which celebrates the birth of Jesus. Of course, you know. So,
I fucking bet. It
is.
Bet.
It is Three Kings Day. That's what it is. Anyway, but we'll get to Vince in a minute because that is our main event topic. But some Dynamite ratings here. Pat, definitely down for the first Dynamite of the year. My goodness.
They're not very dynamite, these Dynamite ratings.
Definitely not. Underwhelming, 864,000 on TBS this week. Yes, a good basketball game was on at the same time, kind of roughly. My Heat from Miami against my Lakers was on TNT. Some good hockey as well. Our Devils were in Detroit playing the Red Wings. Well, you know, other stuff on TV. Bad ratings here, man. Just looking at, you know, just these numbers here. I mean, 824,000 on the first Dynamite, which is weird because last year, and obviously we know, you know, different dynamics. CM Punk was on the roster. It was 1.01 million last year for the first Dynamite of the year. Just really, really underwhelming, dude, from what it was last year at this time. You know, some entertaining matches to some extent, but just not good numbers here for Dynamite when, you know, they have to start pushing a program here for Revolution coming up in March at the Chase Arena in downtown San Francisco. Not off to a good start, man, for 2023 for AEW with this awful rating.
Well, you know, Fern, I got to tell you, I'm not surprised. MJF as champion is a good thing. He's an interesting guy, but he's not doing anything that the audience hasn't already seen from him yet. And I think that's the biggest issue, you know? That's the biggest issue with him. You know, the fact that we haven't really seen him take his character to a different level to be able to draw in a larger audience. You know, MJF is a very talented young dude, and, you know, I've compared him to our friend from the show, to my friend from the show, which also a fellow Devils fan, the person we embarrassed today with this show, Gabe Baez. You know, he's another guy who's a Devils fan, and he's a dude who's very similar to MJF. And, you know, even MJF doing what he does, it's still not enough. Like, you have to do something else outside of the box for him to draw in bigger numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately, that's really what AEW needs to be able to take their company into the next level.
I'm with you.
I don't know if they're going to do that.
I agree with you. And these numbers, I mean, let's just look at November here. I mean, as we close up November and December, right up November 2nd, 911,000. November 9th, 930,000. Dipped down to 818,000 for November 16th. Literally the night before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve, which is arguably the biggest party night of the year, 880,000. November 30th, 870,000. Let's see, December, closing out the year, 840,000. December 14th, 950,000. The week after, 957, and then the last Dynamite of 2022 was 876,000, and there was still a drop to start the year. I think this company's in trouble. I think that, Tony Khan is not doing himself any favors by putting – and listen, I find Jeff Jarrett entertaining. I'm a fan of the Slapnuts, but it's not compelling television. You're featuring someone like Jeff Jarrett in a marquee main event match this past week for the tag team championships, and now it's flat. Yes, Darby Allin in his hometown winning the TNT championship against Joe. Not much of a surprise. Sort of a mark booking that a mark audience would like. Not a surprise there. I think that, moving forward, they need to do something here. And it's a little predictable now. MJF, is accepting Bryan Danielson's challenge. He's going to make, however, he's going to make Bryan Danielson jump through hoops so he can have his title shot at Revolution in March. But should Bryan Danielson fulfill all the challenges, which he will, of course, it's going to be a 60-minute Iron Man match at Revolution. Between now and March, I don't know, man. I don't see a lot of compelling television coming out of Tony Khan.
It's tired. It's tired, man. And even with the Kenny Omega, against – and look, let me say something now. There's no agenda here. We're not Vince apologists. We don't hate Tony Khan. There's nothing against anybody for anything, okay? We like wrestling. We talk about wrestling. We have fucking wrestlers on the show. We love it. And there is no Vince apologist agenda for all you people who might think that out there, in whatever chats you're in. There's no Vince apologist agenda. It's not like that, okay? There's no Tony Khan hatred. It's not like that. We're calling it from what we're seeing, and we're understanding that this is a business. It's a business, okay? And whether the person we like wins or loses, it's still going to keep going. And the people that deserve to make the most money are going to be in the positions to do it more often than not. And we talk about that here on this show. We do it in a pretty objective way. And whether the listeners like it or not, I don't know. I can't say. I don't even know you motherfuckers exist. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you motherfuckers. None of you had sex with your mothers, as far as I know. But the point is that I just think that enjoy it for what it is. Stop fucking complaining. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'll say it a million times after. There's no agenda here. We're calling the wrestling the way we see it. Enjoy it for what it is. And go on the ride. Because that's what you like when you were younger. And when you think you know something because you heard it, wherever, you really don't know shit. You really don't know shit. So just be open. I'm sorry. Sorry, Fern. I'm sorry. Now I'm apologizing to you, even though you were utterly embarrassing at the beginning, but whatever.
I was not. I was fair. I was a good interview. What are you talking about?
All right.
I can't win sometimes. I can't win. Our main event topic this week, folks, obviously, if you've been watching the news cycle, it's for some in the pro wrestling community and for fans, it's a joyous day. For others, not so much. But Vince McMahon is officially back with WWE on the board of directors. Apparently, the Wall Street Journal reporting this week that by written consent, Vincent K. McMahon filed a 68-page filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Pat, I don't know if you had a chance to read it. I was actually reading some of the document. Man, I'll tell you, you want to talk about long-winded bureaucracy, and that's what it is when you submit filings to the SEC, boy. I'll tell you, 68 pages, man. You want to fall asleep quick? Download the PDF and look at it. I was reading like the first 10 pages. It was tough to read. But apparently Vince McMahon removed Joellen Lyons Dillon as well as Jeffrey Speed and Alan Dexler without cause as directors of the issuer, obviously, and to fill such vacancies by electing reporting person George Barrios and Michelle Wilson as directors, again, by the issuer. The reporting person is Vince McMahon, and the issuer is WWE. On January 5th, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Vince McMahon would soon indicate a return to the company simply to pursue a sale of World Wrestling Entertainment. The filing confirms Vince McMahon's making changes to WWE's bylaws to ensure that any media rights deals and any company sale cannot be completed without his approval. Not a surprise, Patrick. He has the majority of shares. Not a surprise there. The filing also includes Vince McMahon's letters to the board of directors on December 20th and on December 31st. The letters are available online. The Wall Street Journal reported last month that McMahon obviously made every intent to return, as he felt he was given bad advice by his attorneys at the time. I'm not sure if he's fired those attorneys or if he's hired new ones who had told him it was best for him to leave, and his opinion was that if he had stayed, the situation that had led to his departure in July would have blown over. Looking at some of the things, too, there was a Zoom meeting this afternoon. Again, quote, according to and by the way, the WWE stock jumped 26%, so I'm ecstatic about that. Obviously, as a shareholder, it should be higher, but that's another pet peeve of mine. Apparently, the WWE issued a statement this afternoon regarding the composition of its board of directors and the exploration of strategic alternatives. Quote, today we announced the founder of WWE, Vince McMahon, will be returning to the board, according to chairwoman and co-CEO Stephanie McMahon-Levesque. Co-CEO Nick Khan and Chief Content Officer Paul Levesque also were part of the Zoom meeting. Quote, we also welcome back Michelle Wilson and George Barrios to our board of directors. Together, we look forward to exploring our strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder value. I hope so, since the stock hasn't been great. As Vince McMahon said yesterday, quote, WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duties, or responsibilities. I don't know. Stay tuned for that one, folks. In connection with the change in the composition of the board and in cooperation with Vince McMahon as majority shareholder, the company intends to undertake a review of its strategic alternatives, with the goal being to maximize value for all WWE shareholders. There is no assurance that this process will result in any transaction. He said that his intention is, again, to facilitate a sale of the company. There are no plans to change the hierarchy at WWE as presently constituted. Pat, let's separate fact from fiction here. What's your gut tell you about what's going on with Ms. McMahon?
Fern, 1 second, please. I'm honestly emotional.
Up 26% of the share of the stock. Pat, I'm with you. Hallelujah. The stock shot up 26%. Hallelujah. Absolutely. I am not complaining whatsoever.
Of course it did.
Okay.
Of course it did. Of course it did. Because the fucking GOAT is back. GOAT McMahon. Vincent Kennedy McMahon is back. And he's back to save the WWE. He's back to save the WWE. And he's back to help Triple H take what he's trying to do to the next level. That's what he's trying to do. Because Triple H is doing okay. Triple H is doing okay, but he's going to take it to the next level soon. Okay?
But Pat
he's going to take it to the next level soon.
What are we saving? It's still as profitable. Ratings are good. Every metric is telling us that this is true. What exactly is Vince saving? Like, I don't understand. What is he saving? House shows are
has Triple
Raws
H
are packed.
Has Triple H done what Vince McMahon has done for the WWE? Are his characters really catching on the way they should have, or could have, or would have?
Well, Pat, but to be fair, let's separate Vince, the creative person, and Vince, the businessman, and let's separate Paul creatively and Paul and Stephanie and the
There's nothing to separate. Everything Triple H knows, he learned from Vince McMahon.
Correct.
Outside of his own wrestling experience, let's be real. As far as being a booker, promoter, understanding how to do that, he's learned a lot from Vince McMahon. And I'm not taking anything away from Triple H. I respect him immensely. Okay? But Vince McMahon has taught him a lot. What, people think that this is like some tumultuous relationship, like he hates his father-in-law? Oh, he didn't book this mid-carder that, like, I thought should have been booked this way on Raw, so I hate Vince now. Fucking stupid. You fucking idiots, you dorks.
Pat, you're right. Pat, you're right. But the idea that, again, the foundation, the solid foundation's been laid there for 40 years. The blueprint is there. The business model is there. No one's arguing that. What I'm saying is that, other than, yes, Vince returning to the board of directors, and obviously his presence helps to boost the stock, and believe me, I hope it stays that way. The idea that Raws aren't selling out, or that they're not getting good gates on Raws and SmackDowns, and that they're not let's be very fair. They had, and I get it, the Bloodline is a Vince creation. It's helped obviously develop great merch sales, great metrics and ratings, but it's the company's still profitable. We had the most profitable Survivor Series. No, I agree. It's not just the Bloodline, but we had the most profitable Survivor Series in history in pay-per-view buys. Aside from what the PLE is, aside from what Peacock is with the 57 ads, the pay-per-view buys were high. Merch sales are high. Gate is still high. Obviously, the recent Raw during the holiday show here at the Garden was high. I think recently, just in general, it's not like listen, I just don't like the optic of, Vince is coming. I'm not saying you're guilty of this. I'm saying that some people online are saying, but Vince isn't saving anything. The company's still profitable. It's not like they're in the red since Vince left. They've been profitable as ever, if not more. So, again, the model's there. The blueprint is there. But let's not pretend like business took a dive because Vince left. It didn't. That's not what the metrics tell us.
Listen. This is some freaking trickle-down economics, okay? Vince McMahon, he created the foundations for all this stuff, right? He's the reason that Triple H is reaping these rewards, okay? And he set things up for him to do things. But has that Miz and Dexter thing and now Johnny Gargano and now Charles Bronson, all these other guys, like being in this segment together, has that really done anything? Has that really made a difference? What are the metrics behind that? Has Karrion Kross being back really made that much of a difference? Has Hit Row being back made that much of a difference? And look, I'm giving Triple H a year. I really, really am. I really, really am. But Vince fucking knows what the fuck to do. Vince knows what to do. He's adapted. He's mutated. He's been able to do it multiple times over. He's like fucking Palpatine, this guy. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Dana White should have learned a thing or two. You know, make them sign NDAs. Don't put out videos, you numpty. You know?
Pat, you're right. And I think that, Pat, you're right. And we've talked off the air.
And I'm in no way condoning domestic violence, I just want to say. Because I know the listeners of our show know that. But just FYI, man. You know? No, and fuck Dana White for what he did. That's not cool.
No, and Pat, and like we've talked about it off the air, certainly there are things that Vince did creatively that got traffic and metric, like, we were talking about, obviously, we referenced Billy Body's appearance on Keeping It 100 with Disco Inferno and Conan a few months back, where they talked about, for example, something like, Veer Mahan apparently having some of the highest viewed videos on YouTube and the WWE page there. I can tell you from friends of mine that live in Carolina that went to a Raw in Raleigh, friends that live in Florida that went to a Raw, that when he was on the building was flat, dude. I mean, that you could hear a pin drop when Veer came out. But I get it. The metric, the traffic online, social media clicks, I get all that. That's important. And that's what drives business.
Send Veer.
Nope. I'm saying, but those are things where the 24/7 title, thank the Lord, get that off of our TV screen, for God's sakes. The less of those people, the better. Those are all Vince things that people got tired of. Now, again, to your point about giving Paul Levesque a full year, let's do that. Let's give him until next July, basically the Money in the Bank event in England and London in July, maybe SummerSlam later on that month. Let's give him a full year. Okay, we got Mania, we got the Royal Rumble coming up, we got Elimination Chamber coming up in February. I'm happy to see that PLE returning because it had been off our TVs for years. I'm happy to see that. Rumors of a King of the Ring standalone PLE in June. I hope so. These are things that fans like. Vince got away from. I get it. Vince, again, he's the creative GOAT. I'm not disputing that. But let's give Paul Levesque a year, because if these ideas do come to fruition, they're going to get fans to come back. The King of the Ring was a great PLE, dude. It just was. It was something we looked forward to during the summer, before SummerSlam, that tournament. That was great. Bringing back Elimination Chamber. Yes, we're not going to see Roman defend the title in it, but we're going to see other titles defended in it. Like, these are PLEs that fans like. I don't know if Vince was really about that and bringing those things back. And, it's kind of refreshing what Paul's been doing. Yes, maybe the numbers don't tell you that, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be bad for the foreseeable future, Pat.
Look, man, I just don't think that what Triple H is doing is really growing to the point that fans think. And a lot of the people that like what Triple H is doing are the people that aren't going to spend money anymore. And more importantly, like, they're people who are a lot older and, aren't really the people that Vince McMahon's targeting with certain types of characters. Vince does the nostalgia thing. He does the good wrestler thing with the big fans. But at the end of the day, man, like, he doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. He's done with us. So Veer and acts like that and stuff like that you're like, this is stupid. The 24/7 title, which is probably pretty fucking stupid. That's stuff that doesn't appeal to us, but it appeals to the audience that are going to make Vince McMahon more money. And whether you think the wrestling then or now is better, it's all subjective. But it's not really designed for us, this stuff. And I think that Vince is going to come back to do that. And Vince always understands, like, throughout all the years, how to be able to adapt to what the audience wants for him to be able to make his money.
Yeah.
The marks are always going to be there. The marks are always going to be there. All you people that listen, that say that we're Vince apologists, all this nonsense, these are people that are always going to be there, okay? You people that are, you self-harmers, You know, fuck the WWE. I'm not going to watch anymore. I hate them, this and that, blah, 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 blah. But, hey, WrestleMania, you're fucking there. You're watching it. You're tuning in for everything. You're tuning in for all the Raws, all the SmackDowns and stuff like that. You know, so whatever. Talk your smack. Say what you want to say. But you'll still be tuning in. Cry, complain, tune in, repeat. You know? Well, that's a shirt we need.
No,
Cry,
you know
complain, tune in, repeat.
No, you know what? And it'll sell well. And again, man, it remains to be seen. The start to kick off the year. This afternoon's Zoom meeting with shareholders, with the new board of directors under the guise of Vince McMahon.
Amazing.
Again, he's the majority shareholder. Now, I don't have a law degree. I'm not really a business law person. But does Vince have enough power to replace the entire board as majority shareholder? Possibly. But again, from what I'm reading and from what the Wall Street Journal is reporting, that's not what Vince is looking to do. He did file, he did file that with the SEC about replacing certain people on the board. Does Vince have the power, I think, legally to replace Stephanie, Nick, and Paul Levesque? I think from what I'm reading, Patrick, I think he can as the majority shareholder. I just believe that's not happening right now. And I think that, we'll see how this harmony continues to kick off 2023. Some people going online say, this is a storyline. No, this is not a storyline. This is a real-world corporate business decision. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and months ahead. I know people are getting into a frenzy that, again, Vince is giving every assurance during today's Zoom meeting that everyone's title is intact. Paul's still running creative. Stephanie and Nick Khan are still the co-CEOs. It seems like Vince maybe is interested in selling the company. Maybe he's interested in finalizing media rights. Again, the contracts with Fox are coming up soon. The contracts with Comcast, NBC Universal are coming up soon for expiration. You know what? Vince has always been a good businessman. He's negotiated great TV deals. It remains to be seen what happens in 2023. But yes, folks, Vince McMahon is back in WWE. Folks, on this day in wrestling history.
Fern, but before you go into that, I kind of just want to cap it off before you put everybody back to sleep again. But I just want to say something here, okay? I follow a page called Violet Miracle. All right, they have some great, fantastic wrestling clothes, New Japan stuff, All Japan stuff. I mean, great stuff. At Violet Miracle, check him out on Twitter. And he posted something that kind of made a little sense to me. I thought he said every time there's a big WWE story, it becomes abundantly clear who doesn't understand how stocks work, what executive compensation looks like, and the meaning of about 24 other very basic business terms / functions. Would you say that sums everything up? Like, puts it up in, a nice little bow and all that stuff?
Yeah.
And what's going on with Vince?
No, absolutely. Listen, you and I make it a point to be as well read as we can on these issues and on these matters. But no, you're absolutely correct. No, absolutely.
And you know what? I'd also like to say I'm elated that Vincent Kennedy McMahon is back. And I consider Vince McMahon one of the top 3 greatest Americans ever. Vince McMahon at number 1, Gravedigger at number 2, and Hamburglar at number 3. And I think that all 3 of those guys, greatest Americans that ever lived, and I'm glad that Vince McMahon is back in the fold of WWE. I think he's gonna take these little projects that Triple H is working on, and he's gonna blow them up real big. He's gonna make them do some great comedy stuff. They're gonna bring back the 24/7 title. They're gonna, you know what? Some people need to lose some last names. Like, I think it's gonna be pretty darn good when some people lose some last names.
No, stop with the one name.
We'll see soon.
No, we definitely will see. It's going to be very interesting times, folks, in 2023 with the return of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Folks, as we're about to wrap it up here real quick, on this day in wrestling history, in 1983, in Puerto Rico, in PBR's homeland, WWC World Heavyweight Champion Carlos Colon took on touring NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair in what was billed as a unification match to merge both the NWA and WW, the World Wrestling Council Heavyweight Championships. Colon came out the winner and was declared a Universal Champion, holding both the NWA and World Wrestling Council title belts. However, Flair and the NWA had allegedly not agreed to this being a unification match, and so Flair received the belt back in what is believed to have been a phantom title change that took place on January the 23rd. Very little evidence shows that Ric Flair regained the belt in an actual match, and the NWA also decided not to recognize either title change. Also in 1995, Macho Man Randy Savage, upon just making his debut at Starrcade in 1994, made his debut on WCW Saturday Night against John Tenta, a.k.a. Avalanche, the late Avalanche. In addition to that, on this day in 2014, WWE presented Old School Raw from Baltimore, Maryland, where the late, great Roddy Piper interviewed The Shield on his Piper's Pit segment, which also featured the New Age Outlaw, Sergeant Slaughter, with a guest referee for the Great Khali versus Damien Sandow match. And, of course, we all remember the epic moment in the main event. Roman Reigns defeated CM Punk, and just as the rest of the Shield was about to join in on beating down CM Punk, Jake the Snake Roberts made just an overwhelming return, culminating in Jake the Snake Roberts placing his pet snake on a smiling Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. Jonathan Good, a.k.a. Jon Moxley. Some notable birthdays as well. Jacqueline, WWE Hall of Famer, was born on this day in 1966. Conan, great star and the president of AAA Wrestling in Mexico, born on this day in 1964. The late, great Ludwig Borga, the Helsinki Hellraiser, was born on this day in 1963. Moondog Spot was born in 1952. And a personal favorite of mine, for anyone that kind of remembers some James Bond films and everything else, Professor Toru Tanaka, born on this day in 1930. On this day in wrestling history, folks, here as we're about to wrap up the show on Blog Talk Radio. Pat, any final thoughts before we call it a week, brother?
That's all that happened on January 6th. That's it.
On this day in pro wrestling history, that is correct, yes.
It's all that happens in American history on January 6th. That's up.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, again, today is generally the birth of Jesus, right? The Nativity scene, the Three Kings Day. It's a Christian festivity again.
Today's his birthday? I thought Christmas was.
You know what? I think for devoted members of Christianity, again, Three Kings Day is the Feast of the Epiphany, which again takes place on this day, and this is indeed the birth of Jesus due to the Feast of the Epiphany. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a scholar, but not a theologian. That's for sure.
Well, on this day, I see clearly, and I see clearly that the show is at the end. I'm at the end of my bottle. I'm so sorry. This has been such a tumultuous episode here with everybody. I mean, my kids, they're training. Yeah, they're learning shoot fighting. So they've been coming in between trying to let me know what's going on with their training, and I'm letting them know that I'm here working the marks. And, they're very excited, all right? And I got something cooking up over here at the Rivera family house here. But look, let's not talk about that. Let's finish up the rest of the show. First and foremost, before I sign off here, I'd like to apologize to Gabe Baez for my co-host Fernando Uribe. And please don't laugh, Fernando. Don't laugh. Don't laugh, Fernando.
Good. I think
it's incredibly embarrassing. I think that you treated him as if he was just some sort of garden variety J-Brown. Maybe that's what you're used to hanging out with over at Waterside. Is that the name of the place? Waterside?
Waterside.
Maybe that's what you're used to hanging out with over there. All right? The Gabe Baez, quality guy. and a great American, by the way. So I'm sorry, Gabe, for today and everything, and hopefully we'll get our act together by the time you come back on again. Check me out at the Child Actors on Instagram. Do not personally message me, contrary to what this guy says at the beginning of the fucking show. I don't want you to talk to me. If you see me in the street, maybe offer me some kind of donut or something. I don't know. We'll see. But just be nice to everybody. Look both ways before you cross. Fernando, thanks for fucking having me on. And sign it off, my friend. Sign off the fucking gimmick.
All right. Well, folks, again, as a reminder, special thank you to the comic book warrior, Gabe Baez, for coming on here tonight. If you're in the Bergen County area, next Saturday night, folks, Saturday, January 14th, 106 Bergen Avenue in Ridgefield Park, easily accessible through all major highways, whether it be Route 3, Route 80, the Jersey Turnpike, Garner State Parkway, also accessible via Lyft or Ubers. Plenty of parking is available. Doors open at 5 p.m., folks. Bell time is 6 p.m. for Spartan Championship Wrestling. Please check out the comic book warrior, Gabe Baez there. I'm looking forward to seeing his development and his continued just rise through this independent scene. And, folks, he's a guy to watch out for in 2023. I want to thank him for being a guest this week on Working the Marks here on Blog Talk Radio. Folks, shoot us an email, workingthemarks@gmail.com. Also, make sure you reach out to the show on our Instagram page at working_the_marks. And, of course, also on Twitter at working_marks. You can also check us out on our own social media as well, folks. Shout out to Famcast Media for supporting this podcast. Also to D. Rotten, one of our administrators on this page here, not just on the social media aspect of Working the Marks, but also on the Facebook page and also on the podcast page as well via blogtalkradio.com/Working the Marks, folks. Special programming note for me coming up on Monday. Real Talk with Fernando Uribe returns after a good holiday break. We got legislative candidates all throughout the spring. It's an election year in New Jersey, folks. All legislative seats are up for grabs. Got a great legislative candidate coming up on Monday, and for the foreseeable, every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time via Jersey First TV. Look for it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube, of the Jersey First page at jerseyfirst.org, and, of course, check it out every Monday night at 6 p.m. Folks, he is New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the illustrious, the glorious, the dubious, the PBR, superstar, Patrick Rivera, joining us here. Obviously, a wonderful host with me. I am New Jersey's premier journalist, the Professor Fernando. And, folks, every single week, you know what we're doing? We're working the marks here on Blog Talk Radio. Folks, Happy New Year. We'll see you next time here. And, as always, let's keep on talking.
Famcast Media.